Welcome to the second episode of the TalkinTwenties Pod. I'm your co-host Dan. This is Joe, and today we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl to start off with. Joe?
Yes, as we know, the Super Bowl this year is in Santa Clara. Although they claim it's in San Francisco, it's really where the 49ers play in Santa Clara. I think this year, though, although both teams are great, I think the Seahawks are going to really make some noise this year. I don't even think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be like, Super Bowl 48, I think it was, when the Seahawks played against the Broncos. It was 47-8 final score. I think it'll be similar to that. I think the Seahawks defense this year is just too elite. Number one in defensive rating overall. They've allowed 5 touchdowns overall this postseason. I don't think the Patriots are a match for them. I think their offensive line is going to get exposed, and I got the Seahawks winning by a minimum of 10.5 points.
Okay. In my opinion, I think this game is going to be a little bit different. I think the Patriots have a top 5 defense in the NFL, and I also think that the Seahawks have probably the best offense in the NFL. From Jackson Smith to Darnold to Walker, they have got some good athletes. And I think the final score is going to be 17-7 Seahawks. And I think it's going to be a good game. I think both defenses are going to show out, and it's going to come in the fourth quarter. I think the Seahawks defense, Leonard Williams, going to get a big sack.
See, I agree with you that the Seahawks are going to get it done. And I think the final score for the Patriots is fine, 7 points. I don't see the Patriots scoring a whole lot. Again, the Seahawks defense is just too elite. I don't think Drake May and the offensive line could put a winning drive together multiple times. So I think they may get, maybe 1 touchdown, maybe 2 if they're lucky. But I don't see them scoring a lot. However, that Seahawks defense are high scores. I could see Drake May throwing a pick 6 and taken back to the crib for 7 in the Super Bowl. So I think, again, I don't think it'll be close. I think we could even see a Georgia versus TCU national championship scenario where it's just one team just manhandles the other.
Okay. See, I seen recently on X that Wari is limping, so he might be hurt. But with the technology nowadays and the shots they can give the players, I would bet dollars to dimes he's on that field Sunday.
I agree. Last game of the season, biggest game of his life, and he had a low-grade ankle sprain. So I think he will be on the field for sure. But at the same time, when they played the Rams and I think the 49ers, they played Sam Darnold on the injured list with I think maybe an ankle or something, or maybe a shoulder injury. But we saw he came, he threw multiple touchdowns, no interceptions. So who knows? Could just be the media playing their role, but we'll see.
So there we have it. We both think the Seahawks are going to take it home this Sunday. We will find out. I have a question. Should domes be the new norm in the NFL, especially in big-time playoff games and Super Bowl? That way weather cannot be a factor and the teams can showcase to their best abilities? Or should we keep football how it was traditionally played with open-air stadiums across the league?
Well, yeah, I think it's a fair question, but me personally, after watching Aaron Rodgers play most primetime games in Lambeau in the snow, some of the most iconic games have come in rainy weather and snowy weather. So although big time games like the Super Bowl should be played in tropical climates such as Tampa Bay, Santa Clara, California has great weather. I think overall, for the majority of fields, they shouldn't have a dome on them. I think weather is a part of football. It's a part of the game. It has been, and honestly, I think it makes it better. There's nothing better than watching your two teams dog it out while there's snow falling down. The crowd is packed. It's just a great atmosphere.
Okay. See, I can respect weather because growing up I played in rainy conditions here in California, in the United States. But I will say, I think for big-time games, similar to how college does it, they should be played at a neutral site that can be indoors, because certain teams that are in good weather cities like San Francisco or LA, the Rams have a dome, but the dome can open and close. So let's say it's a beautiful day out in, let's say Pittsburgh built a dome. they could still open the dome and get some light in. But if it's minus 23 in a blizzard in Pittsburgh, now traditionally that's football weather. That's Pittsburgh football weather. But if they have a team traveling in from West Coast, Arizona, where they play in a dome and it's hot, they wouldn't get the best product if they're playing in the snow.
Okay, but I'll ask you this question. What is a big-time game for you, NFL-wise? Would you have every playoff game played at a neutral site, or would you still respect the home field advantages?
I think, in my opinion, I think the wild card should be played at your respective home places. Okay. But once you get into the divisional round, it should be at
so
a
you
neutral
take
site.
The college route?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. And another question I would ask, if you are a team that plays in a snowy area such as, the Buffalo Bills or the Philadelphia Eagles, and you're hosting a team from California or from Seattle, wouldn't you want to play in snowy weather because your team has adapted to it? And I would want to bring a team from the West Coast and put them in an unnatural climate so that my players can have the advantage.
See, that makes sense. Like, that's a good thing to have an advantage, and I see where people would want to keep the advantage. But if you reverse it back to if it was on the other side, and you're in a big-time playoff game, because at the end of the day, folks, NFL is about entertainment. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, there's the greatest athletes, so they're going to do what it is to fill the seats. If you're a fan, you don't want to see the Rams have to go to Green Bay in a blizzard and possibly get waxed. You want to be able to watch Matt Stafford throw to Nakua indoors, so Stafford could throw for 400 and Nakua can have 150 yards.
I agree with that. You want the best product that you can put out, but at the same time, if you're playing in Wisconsin in Lambeau Field, and let's say there is a blizzard, I would want to see the field have the same weather as everyone else is experiencing in that general area. I wouldn't want to see, blizzards outside the stadium, but as soon as you step in, it's a nice green field. It's all, dry and you don't see any snow. I like to see the climate in the stadium.
Okay. I think we're going to have to agree to disagree here, because I think in big-time games, it should be played where the weather shouldn't be a factor. That way the teams can showcase to their best abilities as a whole.
Yeah. So moving on to the next topic, movies. Now, movies are a great form of entertainment, but some movies can leave a great impression on you for the rest of your life. So let me ask you, what movies have made a huge impact on you as a person?
Multiple movies have made a large impact on me as a person. I would say, as a kid, I was a big fan of the Cars movies. Those were some of my favorites for sure. I always had a lunchbox, Cars,
Yeah, those were sick.
You scratch it and it makes some cool noises. I would say, kind of transitioning into like high school times, I would say I was a big fan of like the Spider-Man movies. I enjoyed like the live action.
The newer ones or the early 2000s?
I mean, I always enjoyed the classics.
Yeah.
But I think Tom Holland does a good job at being Spider-Man.
He was solid.
But more recently, in the last 2 years, the movie that's had the most impact on me, I would say it's Beautiful Boy.
Ooh.
So the movie Beautiful Boy, it's about a father and son, and the father is Steve Carell, who was Michael Scott in The Office, and the son is Timothée Chalamet. And essentially the whole story is the son battles drug addiction throughout the whole movie, while the father is trying to save him from that addiction. So the father stops his whole career in order to try to save his son. And this is, again, a spoiler, but in the end, the same place the son used to go as a kid is the same place the drugs got the best of him. Honestly, it's very deep. It has, to me, the soundtrack is top 5 I've ever heard in a movie. I think the songs are from a different language than English, so I think the songs are in some sort of Scandinavian language.
Well, yeah, they played that one, the Beatles song, or was it
yeah, it is.
John Lennon, maybe? Beautiful Boy?
It's John Lennon, because in that song, Lennon's talking about his own son.
Yeah.
But Yeah, they also play a Scandinavian song that I've added to my playlist. No, actually, for real.
Okay.
I added to my playlist. It's actually good. It's a sad song, but I highly recommend it. So, what about you, Jeff?
Yeah, so, plenty of movies have made impacts on my life, such as The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. True story, by the way, of him growing up, he was in San Francisco.
Okay.
And he had a breakthrough medical advancement. Like he had, I think it was like an X-ray machine, maybe. Don't quote me on that. But his character was someone that was trying to, he wasn't too rich. He had a son,
Okay.
but they were struggling. And so this X-ray machine was going to, take him to the top. They were going to get rich off it. So he was going around the city trying to pitch his machines to different doctors and, medical places. And they would turn him away, talk about, X, Y, and Z. But then at the same time, he was also trying to get a job as a stockbroker.
Okay.
And, they kept turning him away. But he got an internship, and I think out of like 60 people, he got the job. He was coming in every day grinding. So it's just a great movie to teach you about, like, how to grind and how life is. But another movie I've recently watched that made an impact on me was Whiplash with Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons. The movie is about a young man who's in college. He goes to a school for music, and he's very obsessed with the drums. It's all he cares about. It's what he lives for, right? He wants to be the greatest musician there was. So while he's there, his professor, J.K. Simmons, his teacher, band instructor, he'd give him a real tough time. He would, slap him. He would throw things at him in the name of tough love. So after, many things going back and forth, the character Miles was playing in the movie, he actually got kicked out of the school for an incident that occurred. And the professor got fired because the character Miles was playing snitched on him to the authorities. So he ended up being fired for abuse. But so a few months later, after they both left the college for reasons, the character Miles was playing walked into a local jazz bar where he found his professor playing the piano. So he watched him for about a minute or so, and then he wrapped up his set. And as he was done, the professor looked up from the piano and saw Miles, and he like turned away and was walking out, whatever. But then they ended up sitting at a table and having a drink and talking. Everything was good. So about a week later, the professor was actually orchestrating a band that was playing a live jazz band, and he asked the character Miles was playing to be his drummer. Now at the time, the instructor knew that his student Miles snitched on him to the authorities, but Miles didn't know that he knew. So when they got to the stage in front of hundreds of people, and Miles was playing the drums, the instructor came up and said, "I know it was you." And then he proceeded to say, "We're going to play this song," and Miles didn't know the song at all. So he was basically left to die, right? So, the band starts playing. The drummer, who's Miles, he keeps messing up, doesn't know what to do, and he eventually runs off stage. But after he sees his dad backstage and they have a moment, he comes back on to prove the professor wrong. And he comes on and he starts playing. The whole crowd's silent. He starts playing. And he plays for about 3-4 minutes or so, just a drum solo. It's very nice. But in the end, the final message it gives you is to just keep going. To, if you're passionate about something, if you're obsessed with something, just keep going, give it your all. And that's how you become successful. You just become obsessed with something. You just keep going after it.
Okay. Yeah, I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, I think movies, although a lot of times they're for entertainment and comedy purposes, I think movies for some may be more helpful at teaching lessons than possibly text. Because a lot of people are visual learners, and sometimes reading a book isn't the best way. So overall, movies are definitely a big part of American society for sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, globally.
Definitely.
So, yeah, great two great movies right there in Beautiful Boy and Whiplash. Highly recommend you go see those.
100%, definitely. A quick message from our sponsor, 999 Nutrition. 999 Nutrition's tactical grade pre-workout is here to get you through your workouts and everyday lifestyle. With 150 milligrams of caffeine per scoop, it'll give you that extra boost to get through your day.
Speaking of day, 999 Nutrition is offering the Training Day bundle for only $49.99. In that bundle, you will receive a bag, pre-workout, and wrist wraps. Go to 999nutrition.com today to get yours. Thank you to 999 for sponsoring the TalkinTwenties Pod.
Now back to the episode. So now, similar to the topic of entertainment, but also tying into football, Mr. Beast came out and said he's willing to give ECU, his hometown college, $100 million in NIL funds to essentially buy a national championship in football. What do you think about that?
Well, if you know anything about Mr. Beast, he has his own restaurant that pops up in other restaurants. He has a snack line. He's done videos all over the world, really, and he has a lot of sponsorships, so he does a lot of like stay in this place for 24 hours or don't leave this spot for a while. I think if he gave ECU the money, I think they would have, obviously they would get a lot of great players, good talent. I think it would be similar to Texas Tech. I think they would blow through the conference they're in because it's weaker competition. And I think the second they would go play Alabama or Ole Miss, LSU now with Kiffin, I think they would get blown out, in my opinion.
So you think they'd be like the JMU type?
No, because JMU didn't have the funds that Mr. Beast is possibly going to give ECU.
Okay. I could see that. However, it's $100 million. You know, that's a lot of money. Especially backed by Mr. Beast. Not only are you going to receive the money, but you're going to receive the image, the likeness. Mr. Beast, he puts you on a video, you're going to blow up. So, I do agree that, you know, they'll obviously blow through their conference, but you got to think, if they go out and recruit the top players from, you know, Miami, from Georgia, from Alabama, you know, these kids who are making, you know, maybe $2 million over there, all of a sudden they get a call from Mr. Beast saying they can make $4 million and appear in some YouTube videos and, you know, boost up their Instagram following. I mean, what 19, 20-year-old's going to turn that down? So,
See,
yeah, go ahead.
while that's cool, money in college shouldn't be the end goal, in my opinion. Like, yes, it's good to make money, and a lot of athletes would love to set up their family for future success. But really, where we've strayed away from in this pay-to-play era is the goal should be making it to the league, the highest level of competition. So, in my opinion, I've watched Mr. Beast videos. I'll be honest, I'm in my 20s. I've seen a couple. But I think most of his demographic are kids, to be honest. So, I think even if he featured the players in there, most NFL scouts and GMs would not see them appear in Mr. Beast's video.
But I don't think it's about the GM. And you got to think, although, yes, you are right, and I agree with you that college football shouldn't be about the money. It should be about, you know, winning the national title, you know, bringing culture to your program, making it to the league. It's just what it is in 2026. It's about the money. If a player can go to the league, you know, as a 4th, 5th round pick, or stay for a 6th year and receive more money than they would declaring for the draft, you know, they're going to stay. That's just what it is nowadays. So I think it gives players a great incentive to come to ECU and maybe build a dynasty.
Okay. Speaking of 6th year, Trinidad Chambliss was denied his 6th year. And in my opinion, I think they should have gave it to him because they made the Pavia rule where if you win JUCO, you could get an extra year. And if they declare JUCO, that doesn't count. I feel like they should let Trinidad get another year. Carson Beck didn't go JUCO, and he played 7 years and just lost in the national title game. If you're going to set a precedent, why start with Trinidad?
Now, I do agree with the fact that, you know, there's got to be a cap limit to how long they can play. You know, I don't agree that you should be playing 6 years in college. I mean, it's just not what it should be. However, at the same time, though, if you're going to make a rule, you have to start somewhere. So maybe they lay down the hammer with Trinidad, and that's the rule moving forward, and he's just, the unlucky one that got stuck in it. Or maybe they say he can't play, but then they just move forward and let other players and pick and choose. So I think if they make a rule, it's going to have to start with someone, unfortunately, and it may just be him. But personally, I think if you are granted a 6th year and, you're graduated, I think there should be contracts that you have to sign, not for money, but for the school. I think if you're playing, your 6th year, like Carson Beck, he's what, in his 6th or 7th year?
7th.
7th year. And there's been interviews come out where, he's taking 1 or 2 classes, just messing around. I think there should be contracts that you have to sign as a player to ensure that you're going to get your master's degree or even your PhD and, provide something to the school of value rather than just playing ball.
I agree. And most student athletes get degrees in communications, English, things that you can do while being an athlete that won't necessarily take up your time, and you could do it on the plane or in the hotel room. So for these guys, these cats that are playing 7, 8, even we've seen even 9 years from that guy that used to play at Miami.
Yep.
You at least have to have your master's.
I agree.
If a college track should take you no more than 4 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you're there for 7 to 9, if you don't have your master's, a master's should take a year.
Minimum.
You got to have your master's. Otherwise, it's time to hit that pavement, turn in your resume.
Yeah, I can't agree more.
Now, moving on to our last topic, music.
So my top 3 rappers all time, no order, just top 3. Kendrick Lamar, he's got to be in there for me personally. Number 2, people know him for his beats, but he's also a great rapper writer, Kanye West. And number 3, me personally, he's one of my all-time favorites. Some people might disagree. Kodak Black. I think he's got some great music. He's got a great catalog. If you don't know a lot of his music, I guarantee you you've heard at least 1 or 2 of his songs, no doubt. But I think he's just a great rapper overall.
See, I love his music too. I got, 30 songs in my playlist from him. But top 3 is a stretch.
He's got some
I'll
great
give you
music.
top 10 of our era.
I'm
top
going
3
top
crazy.
3. I can listen to Kodak on repeat. He's got some great music. He's got great features. If you heard him in ZZ, I think he had the best verse easily.
Okay, but if you compare, who'd you say? Kendrick was your favorite?
Yep.
Okay, you compare the cultural impact that Kendrick.
Well, yeah, they're 2 completely different rappers, but
that goes into being one of the greatest rappers.
Respectively, though, they're great. You can say, the greatest band of all time is a rock band, but you can also acknowledge that a nice soft indie band's cool.
Okay.
And that they could be an all-time great. 2 different kinds of music. They're both rap. One's more maybe written a little more intricately with Kendrick Lamar versus one who's just maybe has a better flow. Maybe you could say, but yeah, I think they're both 2 respective greats.
Okay. I would say, once again, to reiterate what he said, I'm in my 20s, so current 2000s people, I would say my top 3, no order. Lil Wayne got to be up there. Just banger after banger. Let's see. Drake.
Okay.
Growing up, playing sports and hearing Start from the Bottom, that was always a juicer. And then during the COVID times and even pre-COVID and the God's Plan, that took, I don't know how it was for you, but at my school, that took my school by storm.
I never really listened to Drake growing up.
And then, please.
I don't listen to Drake.
Back then, get out of here, bro.
Nope. He was never in my playlist.
Okay. So now we're just lying openly to the camera. Okay.
Never
And then my third and final would have to be Future.
Okay. Solid.
Future, to me, from when I was younger to now, still drops bangers, bro.
Oh, he flows on beat. Yeah, he's good. He's solid.
You could, man, you pop in March Madness and you're just chilling. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's next level. Those 3 to me rapper-wise, are great. And I would even have to throw in a fourth that just missed the cut for me, just due to I like Lil Wayne's music and Future's music a little bit better. Eminem. He's a cultural icon, and some of his songs that were made in the earlier 2000s still go hard today.
Oh yeah.
Like the real Slim Shady.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You pop that in, it'll get you right.
Oh yeah.
Now, veering off a little bit, if you had to go back to any time period of music, what would you choose and why?
Now, are you saying if like I could grow up in that era and listen to music?
No,
or?
like you got one concert. You choose an era to go to a concert of your choosing, band, rap, whatever it may be, artist, group.
Okay. I would choose, early to mid 70s.
Okay.
I would go to a Led Zeppelin concert.
Okay.
And but I would be placed in that era, so it would be in the 70s. It wouldn't be, a modern day. I don't even know if all the band members are still around. So I would go to a concert in the early 70s.
Okay.
I think that'd be super cool.
Nice. I would choose 80s. Take me to a Journey concert.
Okay. Yeah.
Put me in that setting too.
Oh, that'd be solid.
And the top, like the way, what I'm talking about is get me the same age I am now, but in the 80s. I think that would be probably the time of my life, to be honest.
Yeah, that'd be a great concert. Now, let me ask you a question. It's not really similar to music. It's more of what we asked in terms of time periods. What do you think the best time period to have been born is, where you can experience, all the great things? Do you think it's current day, maybe the last 15, 20 years if you were born? Maybe you take it back to the, 1900s? What?
That's tough. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That's real tough.
Yeah.
I think the best. Okay, it's not going to be the traditional time period that you're thinking. I think the best time period to be born in was to be born around 1975, 76.
Okay.
So that way you're hitting your peak childhood in the 80s, when the 80s are really the 80s.
Yeah.
And then you go to university, start of the 90s.
Ooh.
And then you start your family right before the 2000s.
Yeah, no, that'd be solid. I like that answer.
Yeah.
See, I'm pretty much the same, except I'd maybe go a decade early. You said what, 75, 74?
75, yeah.
I'd maybe go
Around
a little earlier, maybe around like 62, maybe.
Okay.
Just so you can experience, your childhood in the 70s, listen to all the great music. But then you get to experience your teen years with the 80s. And, you get to ride around town on the bike with your friends. You get to listen to all this music. That's when the WWE was the WWF. And, it's just great entertainment.
Okay.
So I think that'd be a really cool era to been born in.
See, I feel like, I don't know how it is for you, but like for me, my parents always talked about like how their childhood was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And growing up in the 2000s, I'd done some cool things, some fun things, but compared to what people from back in the 80s,
there was like no rules back
said
then.
they
It was
did,
off limit.
they make it sound like they were playing a game of Sims, and they were just choosing
It
what
sounded
to
like
do.
the parents back then, obviously they cared about their kids, but it seemed like, their kids were, their own beings, their own people. Once the street light comes on, then they come home. It's not, hey, we need you home at this time. It's come home whenever. As long as you're home, whatever.
That's how it used to be. And I'm just going to say one last thing. I got to say, if you see footage from the 80s, 90s, 70s, honestly, even the early 2000s, I feel like people in university and fresh adults into the world look so much older and developed than they do now.
I 100% agree. Like when you see the camera footage from even like high school seniors when they would record, it's like, man, like those people weren't walking around when I was in high school. Those look like grown adults. But why do you think that is? Do you think it's the cell phone? Do you think it's what we're eating and our foods? What do you think it is?
I think it's what is put in the food has changed, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
But
I think it's a mix of the food. A lot of things are being processed. People are going to fast food nearly daily. But also, I think it's a mix of kids are just sitting on their phones or in front of screens all day. They're not getting enough sunlight. They're not moving as much as they should be. So I think it's a mix of a whole bunch of things coming together.
But I will have to say, although I wish I grew up in the, 75, I was born then and grew up in the 80s and 90s. I will say, when I was born and we were kids, I think we got in just in time. Because I don't know how it was for you, but for me, I didn't have a device until I was in middle school. Yeah. So I know kids now, 3 years old with an iPhone 16.
Yeah, they give them a huge tablet.
Yeah.
And instead of reading a book or playing with their stuffed animal, they're looking at screens like this.
Or they're watching Coco Melon and Bluey this close from their face.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to leave you with a thought of, as future parents that are watching this that are in their 20s and 30s and even into the 40s, should we break the culture change and move away from constant technology? I mean, I'm in university and I've had plenty of teachers who dislike generative AI and things similar to that nature. In my opinion, I think we should break away. I think if kids were able to learn how to socialize again, I think the overall health of this country would be better. And I think kids would grow up less depressed and more happy.
I personally, I agree. I think kids, should get out more, be involved with nature, get off screens. I don't think they should have phones and, all that until, they're middle school, maybe even early high school. I think they should just socialize, especially nowadays. But I just don't see it happening. With how much money goes into technology and AI and all these advancements, I think you're only going to see technology integrated, in the youth more, as it has in the past, 10 years. Kids in the early 2000s were never on phones. Fast forward 10 years later, majority of them are. Fast forward another 10 years to where we are today. They're everywhere. They're in your pocket at all times. 3-year-olds have phones.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Crazy, dude.
But yeah.
I mean, I used to have a Game Boy.
Yeah.
And it was like, I would play it, but I wouldn't stay. I would go play trains or play with my Batcave. Times have changed. But
but when I have a kid, for sure, I'm gonna obviously, they're gonna have fun and whatnot. But I'm gonna make sure that they're reading more than they're on, phones. I'm gonna make sure that, they're maybe learning a second or third language. They're playing instruments. I just want their brains to be involved rather than just staring at a screen rotting away.
Very high achieving there. I'm also going to try to keep my kids more in the social interaction space, and I think I'm a big proponent of sports because I've enjoyed sports and I've made plenty of friends, and it builds character playing sports. But I feel like I would test my kids in different sports. So maybe try baseball while they're young if they don't like baseball. Although that would hurt me, you got to support your kids. So maybe try them in soccer, see if they like soccer. Or if they want to, football. Football shouldn't be a thing that parents just automatically put their kids into. That's a very dangerous sport, even at a young age.
Flag football is a great alternative.
It is to start with. But if your kid is going to play football, trust me, don't wait until high school. Get them in 6th grade, middle school. Not only will they be way more social when they get to middle school and into high school, they're also going to be more physically developed.
Yes, I agree. And they'll just have that, natural instinct of the game where, once you get to high school, you're not going to really learn it as well. Whereas if you've been playing since you were, 12, 11 years old, it's just going to come to you quick.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people frown on kids lifting, and I think as long as your kid has the proper form, and you don't have to kill them with the weight, but as long as they have proper form, you could do some strength training as a child.
I agree. As long as you have good form, obviously don't have a kid maxing out on bench and deadlift, give them some light weights, get the form down. That's really all it does, because, when you're 4, 5, 6 years old, you're not going to gain muscle like that, so.
Yep.
Just what it is.
And I think also, one last thing, I know I've said one last thing twice already, but last thing, I think putting a child through testing them out in a martial art is very important. I
agree.
I think I would try to get my child into wrestling as a little kid.
You like wrestling?
4 or 5. I think it teaches a lot of character, and it's hard. And it teaches you to be humble because you think you might be good, and then you go face a kid that's stronger, faster, quicker. So I would try them in that. And then once they get older, more middle school, elementary age, I would put them in jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
It learns and teaches a lot of self-defense skills.
I think, it's a good one.
Now, I wouldn't put them in like karate.
Really?
Bro.
I'd put them in kickboxing or Muay Thai.
Yeah. Most karate instructors around where we live, bro, they got business degrees and just decided to be sensei.
You think?
Yeah. I know a family that used to own one. It's out of business now. So I wonder what they were teaching in there.
To each their own, man. But personally, I'd put my kid in Muay Thai or kickboxing. Take the James Johnson approach from the Indiana Pacers.
Okay.
He's a black belt. I think teaching a kid how to fight, not to fight other kids, but to build discipline, respect, and also just so they have that sense of security within themselves, knowing that I know what to do. I can handle myself in a situation, and I'm not going to let anyone step on me. That's
why I like jiu-jitsu, because it's more of a self-defense. But overall, wrapping up, this was our second show, the TalkinTwenties Pod, presented by 999nutrition.com. Go get your 999 today. Thank you. And we're out.